thank everybody for coming out and being present here and listening to us. Over the last year, I've basically been on a crusade, if you will, to hold politicians who behave in a corrupt or questionable manner accountable. And through that process, we've met quite a bit of resistance from the elite political class in the state of Alabama, whether they be from either party. It's been a true disappointment, I must say, to see how much resistance there is in fighting corruption in our state. And in October of 2016, while we were working on the impeachment process of Governor Bentley, Luther Strange interjected himself into that impeachment process, and at that point set a thing in motion to where he was in direct conflict with the impeachment process, claiming that they had some type of investigation that into the governor, or at least his staff. A couple of weeks later, Donald Trump wins. There's a vacancy that's going to open up with Jeff Sessions' seat, and immediately Luther Strange is in a predicament because he had just halted an investigation into a governor, and then now he has to turn around and try to figure out how to ask that governor for an appointment to the U.S. Senate. And he makes statements along the lines of, I would have had to have been a fortune teller to predict that Donald Trump was going to win. But the real reason that Luther Strange interjected himself into the impeachment process was because he had his eyes on the governor's race. He thought he was going to be running for governor in 2018, and he needed an indictment to come down on Governor Bentley this summer to steamroll him into an election in 2018. Now, he didn't know Donald Trump was going to win, but when Trump won, it put him in this predicament because his life dream is to have been a U.S. Senator. And he's been planning his entire political career around the idea of returning to Washington, D.C. What a lot of people in the state of Alabama don't understand is that Luther Strange spent over a decade in D.C. as a lobbyist, and his sole dream in life was to return as a U.S. Senator. Now, he presented to the people of Alabama at the time he was asking for the appointment to the U.S. Senate that he didn't actually ever say that he had an investigation. But we know now there's actual interviews that he's done on WAFF in Huntsville where he admits that he started the investigation into Governor Bentley's affair and what were eventually his criminal pleas that he made. Unfortunately, Governor Bentley escaped the impeachment process by pleading guilty to some misdemeanors, and likewise, Luther Strange escaped impeachment from the House of Representatives and the Senate by Governor Bentley appointing him to the U.S. Senate and taking him out of our reach, because we had evidence that we had been building that showed that he had a willful neglect of duty, and Mike Ball has that information. I'm sure the press will speak with him and get whatever information you need, but we know that there was evidence presented to Luther Strange to show that Matt Hart, who was one of his lead prosecutors, engaged in political activity from his position and tried to influence elections as an employee of the Attorney General's office, and as such committed a crime. When presented to Luther Strange, he essentially swept it under the rug, turned his back on it, and willfully neglected to do his job. I've got with me up here today, I've also got Tom Scoville and Sam McClure. Both of these gentlemen have filed different grievances. Tom has filed a ballot access challenge to Luther Strange on the grounds of a lot of the different information that we've had over the last several months. Sam McClure has filed bar complaints. And I'll step back up in a minute, but I want you to hear from Sam as to why he filed these complaints with the bar.
Thank you, Representative Henry. So like many concerned Alabama citizens, we were watching to see who Governor Bentley would appoint to replace Senator Sessions in that Senate spot. Lots of names were floated, lots of hypotheticals. People even said maybe Governor Bentley will appoint himself. But it was like watching a train wreck in slow motion to hear that Governor Bentley appointed the man who had halted the impeachment investigation against Governor Bentley. It was like science fiction. It was unreal. And the fact is that the silence among the Republican Party against this Gestapo Eastern European political move was deafening. And Representative Henry and Representative Ball were some of the only people speaking out against this misconduct. The reality is that the Republican Party, and for the good of the state of the whole, we have to hold our own members accountable, and nobody else was doing that. So on April 6th, myself and a group of other concerned Alabama citizens filed a bar complaint against the then sitting Senator Strange. And what is the essence of that bar complaint? This is the essence of it. Take this parable as an analogy. A CEO of Acme Corporation rapes a young girl. The district attorney begins to gather evidence to prosecute the CEO. The attorney general steps in, tells the district attorney, "You step aside, I'm going to take over this investigation of the rape of this little girl." The attorney general then halts his investigation, only to find out 2 months later he gets a job with Acme Corp as the chief financial officer. That's what is exactly what has happened in this situation. Senator Strange, as Attorney General, had a duty to his client, the state of Alabama, to aggressively pursue an investigation into Governor Bentley. Every day that Governor Bentley stayed in office was an injury to the state of Alabama, and he failed to do that. He failed his duty to his client, the people of Alabama. Now, we're either going to normalize that behavior and invite Senator Strange to come to all of our talks and to come to all of our meetings and clap for him, or we're going to hold him accountable for the good of the state. And that's why I was super excited to hear a few lone voices like Representative Ed Henry speaking out against this injustice in the state of Alabama.
And Sam's position is one of many across the state. There are countless thousands of people in the state that are fed up with the type of creatures that Luther Strange is. He is exactly what we sent Donald Trump to D.C. to drain. And I will say this, the atmosphere in Montgomery is clearer. The swamp has been drained a little bit when Luther Strange left. Unfortunately, he sullied the waters in D.C. even more, and it's going to be up to the people of this state to hold him accountable. Now, one of Luther Strange's primary accusations, I guess you will, about myself, especially me, holding him accountable, is that I'm doing it for political reasons. Because I'm running for his seat, somehow I don't have the ability to hold him accountable. That I have a conflict of interest, if you will. And there are at least 2 to 3 particular points in the last 6 months where Luther Strange has absolutely put his personal interest ahead of the public's interest. And it bothers me to be in a position where there's even an air of suspicion that I have any intention to hold him accountable other than to keep the promise that I made to the people who sent me to Montgomery, and that was to be true and honest and look for corruption and hold it accountable where and when I found it. And so, Luther Strange, if you're watching, let me show you how to handle a situation where your personal interest is in direct conflict with your personal interest. These are my qualifying papers for the U.S. Senate. I will not run for the U.S. Senate. However, I will continue to hold politicians who behave in a corrupt and improper manner accountable, like Luther Strange. Thank you. Questions?
Will you run for governor?
I'm going to deal with one day at a time. Right now, we have a mountain to climb, a hill to take. There is going to be so much money and so much effort from Washington, D.C. to hold and keep Luther Strange in this position that it is going to take every fiber of my being to keep up this fight.
Mr. Representative, are you going to endorse any other candidate that's not currently in the race?
Like I said, right now we have one goal, and that is to hold Luther Strange accountable for his actions, and that will be the sole purpose of my next several months. Not.
Can you basically your argument with Luther Strange, one, the actions of Matt Hart.
We have a.
Was that stemming from the Hubbard case?
It's actually stemming from the Barry Moore case,
Okay.
which is something that keeps getting neglected time and time again. Is how, you know, and look, at some point, Luther Strange has lied to the people of Alabama. At the very beginning of the Hubbard Barry Moore, he said, "I'm recusing myself. I have nothing to do with it." Same thing with the governor, and then he runs his fake news ads saying he's responsible for all of it. So he's either lying and saying he's responsible, or he was lying and saying he recused himself. And as such, I want to say this. The ballot access challenge that Tom Scoville has presented. There's going to be a vote tomorrow night by the leadership of the Republican Party in the state of Alabama as to whether or not to even consider his ballot challenge. Now, the tendency in politics is to sweep things under the rug and not give any credence to any type of challenge. I would hope that the people of Alabama would get involved and at least plead with the Republican Party of Alabama to hear the challenge. And if you really care, I'm going to give you the phone number. This is to the headquarters here. It's 205-212-5900. And that's the headquarters telephone number. And if you want the Republican Party to at least hear the case against Luther Strange, call up here and let them know your opinion. That's it. Thank y'all very much. I've got to get back to Montgomery and cast some votes.
He has staffers present.
Nice. Classic DC politics. I don't even know what it says, don't really care. The deal here is Luther Strange has absolutely betrayed the trust of the people of Alabama, and hopefully, the people of Alabama will hold him accountable. Thank y'all. Guys, thank you very much.
Yeah, have a good trip to Montgomery.
All right. Ball, we gotta go vote.
Let's go. Must be Brandon.
Brandon Mosey, Mr. Scoville, how are you?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Can I get a copy of that?